Now, the final segment that we have today is live starter sit questions that I want to take from the audience. Zach, if you want to stay on, you can certainly do that. But we have some comments here from some listeners that are asking some starter sit questions. So let's go over some of these. All right. First one, McLaurin or Ayuk? Brandon Ayuk. Okay, so I'm going to say now Terry McLaurin, he does have quite a favorable matchup here against Seattle. They give up the most points to wide receivers. However, his quarterback situation has been a little bit sketchy. Now, I think Alex Smith is on track to play this week. If Alex Smith plays, I think you got to start Terry McLaurin. He is too special not to. Brandon Ayuk has been on an absolute roll, and I don't fault anyone for coming up with this question. This is a difficult decision, but I got to say, if Alex Smith is healthy and out there, you got to go with Terry McLaurin. He is a game changer. What do you think?
I would
Zach?
actually start McLaurin, whether it's Dwayne Haskins or it's Alex Smith. Early in the season, McLaurin had 2 games over 10 receptions and over 100 yards with Dwayne Haskins as a starter. I don't think it really matters who's playing quarterback. For the Washington football team, you got to get number 17 the ball. Unfortunately, they didn't do that last week when I needed them in the fantasy playoffs, the first round.
Yep.
But I think 17 is the biggest threat on that team, especially with Antonio Gibson being injured. So I think you go McLaurin over Brandon Ayuk.
All right, so Steve, we are both saying Terry McLaurin. Here's another question. Let's see, from Wyatt. All right, so Raheem Mostert against Dallas or Eric Ebron against Cincinnati in a half-point PPR. So Mostert is questionable right now. I believe he's missed practice this week. But if he does log at least a limited practice today or tomorrow, you got to go with Raheem Mostert. Now, actually, I do like Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron has been seeing a lot of targets from Ben Roethlisberger. It is half-point PPR. But Raheem Mostert, we know how explosive he is. He, one touch, one carry is all he needs, and he can break off an 80-yard touchdown at the drop of the hat. It's also the Dallas Cowboys, who we just saw them give up almost 300 yards to the Ravens. They give up 200 yards every week, it seems, on the ground. Kyle Shanahan does love Jeff Wilson Jr. as the goal line back for whatever reason. I really can't understand that. But I feel like the 49ers get out ahead early against the Dallas Cowboys, and this is a Raheem Mostert game. Give me at least 15 carries for Raheem Mostert, and I will start him any week. Wyatt, I will say Raheem Mostert over Eric Ebron.
I actually think that this Dallas-San Francisco game will be really close. I like the way Andy Dalton's been playing as of late. I think this will be a last possession type of game, but with a decent amount of Raheem Mostert volume. I know Jeff Wilson Jr., like you said, is getting a lot of the goal line touches and the really good opportunities, but all Raheem Mostert really needs is one good goal line opportunity, and his volume throughout the rest of the game should suffice. As far as Ebron goes, I like him as far as tight end options go. As a flex to start a lower end, top tier tight end, I don't like it, especially because he had a few drops 2 weeks ago, a couple drops last week, and if you watch that Steelers game, the drops are no longer being tolerated by Mike Tomlin. He started playing Vance McDonald more after Ebron had those 2 drops, and Deontay Johnson was sat for the entire rest of the first half.
That's
so there
right.
is definitely, I think there's more risk going with Ebron against Cincy. So I go Mostert.
Both of us saying Mostert, Wyatt. All right, Wyatt, I see actually you do have another comment here. Let's check this out. All right, Corey Davis against Detroit or Russell Gage against Tampa Bay in a half-point PPR. This is tough. And the reason that this is tough is because there's no Julio Jones. He is out. So Russell Gage has been getting targeted lately. He had 8 targets last week, 7 targets the week before. He has back-to-back weeks with at least 15 fantasy points. So I can see why Russell Gage would come into the conversation here, but Corey Davis has been too good to sit on your bench. Look, I know last week he had a bit of a dud. He just had 3 for 34 on 3 targets. But the week before in week 13, he had 12 targets. He caught 11 of them for 182 yards and a touchdown. That kind of bust or boom or bust volume in week 15, the fantasy semifinals, when you need big players to have big games. They get the Detroit Lions, who are just terrible. I think you got to go with Corey Davis here. Yes, it's going to be a Derrick Henry run all over him game, but I think Corey Davis at least has the opportunity to see 5 to 7 targets, and I imagine he gets into the end zone as well. You had an opinion for Wyatt, Zach?
Yeah, I hate Corey Davis's matchup this week. Not because I don't think Corey Davis won't do well, or because the Detroit Lions are a good team. They're terrible, especially terrible against the run, and that's why I don't like it for Corey Davis. I really think Derrick Henry might get 35 attempts in this game, and the Titans have no problem doing that. They're okay with letting him be the workhorse and go for 35 and 215 yards, especially when you have A.J. Brown to throw to off of that run. I think last week they really tried to force it to A.J. Brown, and good things happened. I could see them doing that again this week. And I was high on Russell Gage last week, Wyatt. I actually told you to start Russell Gage last week. You didn't listen to me. And I like the way he plays. 83 for the Falcons. He kind of pops. When Matt Ryan gets him the ball in space, he usually does good things with it. So I like Russell Gage against Tampa over Corey Davis.
There you have it. So that's a tough one, Wyatt. Who are you going to go with? Well, you'll have to make that decision yourself. All right. Here's another one. This is from Lance, a fellow writer on What's on Sports. He says Justin Jefferson or Stefan Diggs. Now, this is a great question. And, if you're the Vikings, obviously you have chosen Justin Jefferson for that cheaper contract, something that I brought up on the What's on Sports podcast on Wednesday, how their stat lines are actually quite similar, although Stefan Diggs does lead the league in receptions with 100. If you're trying to decide between starting both of them, I honestly think it's not really a question. I think it's Stefan Diggs every week, regardless of matchup, because he is the number one receiver with the better quarterback. Okay, he's the number one option in Buffalo, and Josh Allen is an absolute gunslinger, and he's been more accurate and has had better decision-making this year. I love Josh Allen. I love Stefan Diggs, especially this week over Justin Jefferson, because the Minnesota Vikings play the Chicago Bears, who are the third-ranked defense against wide receivers. I also don't have a lot of faith in Kirk Cousins, and I think that Khalil Mack and that defensive line is really going to get after Kirk Cousins, knock him down early. And if you hit Cousins early, he is a tough guy, but he tends to shrivel up a bit and just want to hand the ball to Dalvin Cook. Makes a lot of sense. Buffalo, however, gets the Denver Broncos. Like I said, it's that thin air in Denver. I could see Josh Allen slinging an 80-yard ball. Stefan Diggs is catching that. Give me Stefan Diggs over Justin Jefferson. Lance.
I'm actually a little bit flipped on this one, where I think Justin Jefferson is the one who's going to have to rely on a deep ball against Chicago. I do think Chicago blitzes, they're like the third highest blitz percentage team in the NFL. So they're going to come after Kirk. If Kirk was able to get good pass pro, roll out, I think you can see Justin Jefferson have one big play. But I think that's where you're going to have to rely on from a good performance from Justin Jefferson. Stefan Diggs, I think he'll have over 10 receptions. I mean, he can be a target hog, especially when Josh Allen decides to sling it. But I think Stefan Diggs is definitely a safer option. I actually think Cole Beasley and Stefan Diggs will both score more than Justin Jefferson.
I completely agree. Great call. All right, let's do one more. We got Johnny Football who's commenting, Big Ben or Tom Brady? This is pretty easy for me. It's Tom Brady. I mean, he gets the Atlanta Falcons, who are the worst in the league against opposing quarterbacks. They give up the most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. It's also Tom Brady in December, who has the highest quarterback rating in the month of December than any other quarterback in history. Give me Tom Brady over Big Ben. Big Ben also, yes, I get he's got the Bengals. That's a pretty soft matchup. It's must win for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are coming off 2 straight losses. But Big Ben is just doing so many little dunk and dip passes to his receivers who aren't catching the ball, like you mentioned. They're dropping left and right. They're also only going for 8 5 to 8 yards per attempt. So I don't like that for his numbers. Ben Roethlisberger, he is going to throw the ball 40 times, but he's going to go 40 out of 50 for 200 yards and maybe 2 scores. Whereas I could see Tom Brady going over 300 yards, 3+ touchdowns, getting all of his receivers involved. I think it's a big week for Tampa. They are going to eat against their division opponent in Atlanta, in the Dome. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Gronk. Give me Tom Brady.
Johnny Football, I think this really depends on what the rest of your fantasy team looks like. If you're looking for a big play out of your quarterback, you need your quarterback to will you, or say the opposing team you're going against has Russell Wilson, or they started Justin Herbert last night or something like that, then you go with Tom Brady. His upside is way higher than Big Ben's, especially with all the crazy weapons on his team. Evans, Godwin, Gronk, Brown, Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette. Their offense is spectacular. But if you're going for a safe floor play, I think it's Big Ben. I could see Tom Brady not having to do a lot and the Bucs still stomp the Falcons. I think the Falcons have played terribly over the past 3 weeks, and historically, they don't play well when Julio Jones doesn't play. Big Ben, however, he can get you 250 yards and 2 touchdowns pretty much every week. That's his average. So if you're looking for volume and decent floor, I say Big Ben. If you're looking for upside, go Tom Brady.
Well, there you have it. Now, just to be fair, Zach, I have to bring up that Ben Roethlisberger has not topped 20 fantasy points in 4 straight weeks, and Tom Brady has had 31 and a 22-point game in those last 4 weeks. So, I just think floor and ceiling, it's Tom Brady either way. But you bring up a good point. We do know that Ben Roethlisberger is going to throw the ball a lot, and he's probably going to get 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So there you have it. Johnny Football, good luck to you. Good luck to everyone this week. Zach, thank you for joining me. We do have some more comments here, but we're just about out of time. So we'll have to get them next. All right, fine. I'll take one more. I will take one more because Wayne Gallman or Kareem Hunt.
Oh, God.
This is tough. Now, everyone thinks I'm going to say Wayne Gallman because I do love Wayne Gallman, which I do. But I don't think I can go away from Kareem Hunt after that performance that he did last week against the Ravens. I love his much softer matchup this week. Man, Kareem Hunt I don't see how you can sit Kareem Hunt, especially this week in the fantasy playoffs, because you for sure drafted Kareem Hunt. We know what he's capable of talent-wise. Wayne Gallman has been an excellent surprise, a beautiful surprise. I love Wayne Gallman. I talk about him every week. However, you have to start your studs. That's what I say, especially in the fantasy playoffs. Start your studs. Don't get too cute. If you have Kareem Hunt, especially with what he did last week, they're going to look to get him just as involved, especially in the passing game. I'm saying Kareem Hunt.
Although Kareem Hunt's game against the Ravens was an offensive battle, which may have helped him to get as much production as he has. Him and Nick Chubb, did they both have 2 touchdowns?
They sure did.
They did.
Yep.
I don't expect that to happen again, but I do expect Kareem Hunt to still go off. I mean, when he gets the ball, he's electrifying. Though
Exactly.
that running back room is insane, the best in the league in my opinion. And I like Wayne Gallman too. I think he's been a huge surprise, but Kareem Hunt's a safer play.
Well, there you have it. I totally agree, Zach. So we're on the same page there. So that one is easy for you, Steve. All right, fine. One more question. This is the last one. Last one. We were going over time. But I saw Matthew Noto's question here, and I think this is pretty easy. So that's why I'm going to answer it for him so he can sleep well. Eric Ebron or Irv Smith? In a full point PPR, he's leaning Irv Smith. I get it, Matthew. I get that you're leaning Irv Smith because he did have a pretty good game last week. And, that's the best performance that he has had all year, where he was 4 for 63 with a touchdown. But he only had 4 targets. And in fact, he's the most targets that Irv Smith has had all season is 5. Okay. Eric Ebron, though. Eric Ebron is the second most targeted pass catcher, route runner on that Pittsburgh Steelers team. We just talked about how we know Big Ben is going to throw the ball 40 times. He's doing quick dunk passes Oftentimes that does go to his tight end. I mean, looking at Eric Ebron's targets, he only had 5 last week, but that's still more than Irv Smith had. He had 11 in week 13, 11 in week 12, and 7 in week 11. That kind of volume for a tight end is just too tasty. I know Irv Smith had a better performance last week, but it's fantasy playoffs, dude. You have got to start your studs. You have got to go with the volume. To me, it's Eric Ebron, no question.
Last week for the Minnesota Vikings was the first week of the season that the tight ends and running backs combined for more targets and receptions than the wide receivers.
Wow.
I expect Kirk Cousins to kind of go back to Jefferson and Thielen. Jefferson and Thielen both kind of had lackluster games, and Irv Smith was having a really good game. But I think Ebron just has safer ceiling and safer floor. As long as he doesn't drop. If you're worried about Ebron drops, then I can see Irv Smith, because that is a real thing to watch out for. Tomlin is pissed off. He's no nonsense. So an early Ebron drop would look really bad, but I think Ebron's still the safer play.
Me too. And like, it's a the Minnesota Vikings play the Chicago Bears. They are a very tough pass defense. They have been more favorable to tight ends, so I can see where he's coming from there. But I'm also with you, Zach, on Eric Ebron. All right, that's going to do it for everyone. Zach, thanks for joining me. All right, I'll see you this weekend. Yes, sir. Excellent show. That was great. Thanks to everyone for watching and commenting. I'm sorry that I didn't get to all of your comments there, but I'll do better next time. We'll keep this a thing as we get into the fantasy playoffs, and this is crucial stuff. So good luck, everyone, this week. Make sure you get those lineups set. You can check out my rankings on whatsonsports.com for more questions if you have them. And like I said, if you've been eliminated or you just want to make some extra cash this weekend, whatsonsports.com will feature my week 15 daily fantasy article. I'll be providing my favorite plays and the best values for this weekend. Let's have some fun this weekend and make some money, guys. All right. Christmas is coming up. We need that extra cash to give those loved ones what they deserve. Thanks again to Sports Trading Systems for being our sponsor. I will see everyone next week. Have a great weekend. You're all far too kind.
Touchdown!